tell you a little bit about my background. I hate it when people say 30-year career, because now it's clear that I'm not 40. All right, so when I was at HP and running the Global Technical Support Organization, in 2011, I made a decision to engage an organization in Costa Rica and begin a tech support team here. And I actually became the first client of Tech Experts here in Costa Rica, placing 40 people to support HP enterprise software customers globally. And that is how Tech Experts began in Costa Rica. Roll forward to 2016, when I joined Microsoft, I became a client for the second time of Tech Experts. And I loved the work that we did here so much, we added additional headcount, this time supporting Microsoft's technologies. At the same time, I was also responsible for Microsoft setting up its own first technical support operation here in Costa Rica, which has now grown to several hundred technical engineers. So you can see that we have a history of really valuing the technical talent here in the country. However, there are challenges ahead of us. And as the previous presenter said, we have a problem with supply versus demand. The world has changed and is going to continue to change and give us new challenges. So one of the challenges that we see is from really when COVID began, we started to see issues with an acceleration of digital transformations. And what that instigated was this mass demand for technical talent. And we have not recovered from that. And in fact, Gartner is suggesting that we're not going to get out of that situation until at least 2026. So for the foreseeable future, we are going to see ongoing problems with demand and supply mismatched for technical talent worldwide. And this is definitely a problem in Costa Rica also. And as I said, this was instigated by the rapid or the acceleration of digital transformation that every company was undergoing as a result of the pandemic. Programs had to be moved further forward, work from home was instigated, and it created this hyper competitive situation for talent. And almost overnight, situation reversed, that it became an employees market. It used to be that employers had great choice, and almost overnight, the employee was the one with choice. And the other thing that happened is the world opened up. Everybody that now previously did not allow working from home actually relaxed the rules a lot. And that created job opportunities for people in markets where they had never considered job opportunities before. And that also has not gone away. Now, it seems a little bit counterintuitive to think about the fact that we have so many challenges with technical talent when we see the headlines of what the major tech companies are doing and what is going on. 171,000 jobs gone in the big tech companies this year alone. It's huge numbers, never heard of before. And so when we look at this, we think, okay, surely the people that they're letting go is topping up the marketplace now and giving us capacity back. But actually, that isn't really what is happening. What we've seen happening is the jobs that they are letting go are not necessarily the technical jobs. They are letting go whole teams of recruiters and talent acquisition teams, whole teams of salespeople, and some of the back office supporting functions, finance resources going. So the technical roles are being retained, and yet the growth in the need and demand for the technical roles is also increasing. Another thing that we can see, though, in these same companies, over the last few years, we can see how they have grown. Now, I have to say, when I first got this slide, I thought that these numbers can't be right, so I Googled, especially Amazon's numbers, because they actually do have that many employees. I thought, my huge numbers. But what we can see is these companies have all been letting large numbers of employees go. And yet, over the course of time, the 10 companies with the largest layoffs have actually still got 150,000 more people than they had at the beginning of 2020. So despite the release of headcount, they are still significantly larger than they were in 2020. And what you can see for many of them is this peak of hiring that took place around about 21 and 22. And many companies actually overhired, and that is what has now caused them to be letting go a large number of people. And they overhired because they were doing a land grab. They saw the problems with getting access to talent, and they went all out for getting on as many people as they possibly could. It became super competitive between the big tech companies, and that is starting to sort of change the landscape. So let's talk about a few other numbers that just set the scene globally for some of the technical talent challenges that we are facing. The first statistic is from a McKinsey report. 87% of senior executives say they are not adequately prepared to address the digital skills gaps. So everybody is recognizing that the gaps exist, but many, many organizations don't have a plan for how to address them. Now, some companies might not yet be fully facing the consequences of not having the talent, but this will start to impact business when you cannot drive or accelerate the digital transformation projects that every single company is undergoing. The second figure here is from a Gartner report, and this is saying the IT executives are saying 64% of their technology, their leading edge technology, cannot be deployed because they cannot get the skills to deploy the projects. So all this amazing technology that can make business better, make customer experience better, but they cannot get it deployed because they cannot get access to the talent that they need. And 65% of hiring managers worldwide are saying they are having difficulty filling their open positions. And I'm pretty sure that many of you in this room are facing those same challenges. Now, this is some data from the World Economic Forum, and it's very interesting to see examples of the roles that are increasing in demand. And the technical roles are increasing 2 times growth: data science, cybersecurity, and software developers. In the US alone, today, there are 170,000 software developer vacancies. And actually, let's have a little. Anyone want to guess how many we have in Costa Rica today? Open software developer positions. Anyone? Perfect. Did you just Google that? The answer is 1,000, exactly 1,000. This is LinkedIn data today. So huge numbers, and the cybersecurity roles are large numbers as well. And the talent isn't there to fill these positions. So this is what we are facing. We conducted our own survey as well, and we asked IT leaders in enterprises around the world, what is the biggest impact that you are facing because of the technology skills in your organization? And I won't read these out because hopefully you can read them, but we were very surprised actually at the first answer here, and just in case you can't read it, IT teams are overworked and under-resourced. That was the highest answer of 36%. Now, we expected to see that answer, but we didn't expect it to be the most pressing problem that they reported. That actually becomes very significant, because if we just join the dots in all the things that we've just talked about there, this creates even bigger problems for us in terms of facing potential higher levels of attrition that we are already seeing. So if you think about what's happening, companies are letting people go, but trying to retain their technical talent. They're cutting budgets, they're letting recruiters go, they're halving their HR teams. This is meaning that their existing employees are not being invested in. At the same time, you see your technology teams that you really are trying to keep are being overworked. There's an obvious thing that's going to happen here, so we have to address it. So what I want to now move on to is what we see some companies doing, again, around the world, to try and address the digital skills gaps. And we're seeing 3 key strategies that people are looking at. The first one is investing in your current workforce, and this achieves two different things. First of all, it definitely helps with retaining your talent. When people see that they are being invested in, when they have career growth plans, they stay longer. It also gives you the skills for your jobs now and the skills for the future. So you are building your own talent and addressing your own gaps. We are also seeing companies looking at new talent pools, so looking at new locations where they had not considered before to try and find talent. Many countries are now importing technical talent at scale. Canada, for example, is importing a huge number of technical talents. And then we're also seeing companies look at alternative sourcing strategies, i.e. finding different ways of getting access to the talent very quickly. And I'll just give you one example of each of these in projects that we have worked on in different countries. The first one is an example of investing in your current workforce. And we mentioned earlier an initiative that we are working on in Qatar, in the Middle East, and this is in collaboration with Microsoft and the Ministry of Communication and IT. And they have an objective as part of their national skilling program to train 50,000 people by 2025 on improving digital literacy and additional digital skills. So far, in collaboration with Elevate, we created a digital center of excellence where we have trained over 6,000 people towards the 50,000 target. And we are collaborating with leading learning institutions such as MIT and the AI Business School. So this is an example, in this case, a government investing in their own employees and citizens in order to improve the skills of their current workforce and, again, citizens within the country. A different example of an organization that is exploring new talent pools. Now, who would have imagined that Israel was struggling to find software developers? All right, the startup, the place where all the startup technology companies have been thriving, and now significant challenges in finding software developers. And so one of our clients came to us, a gaming company, and was looking to explore accessing software developers in new locations. And so we offered them a solution where in Bulgaria, we found the talent for them, we employed the talent, but the client manages the talent. So this is now giving them access to a remote talent pool that they would not ordinarily have access to, but they are still able to manage them and have them as an integral part of their team. So an example of where companies are starting to look in new locations, but without the need to set up a company, a legal entity through which they can hire employees. And then a third example of a company who looked at alternative sourcing strategies. Now we're over into Nigeria, where we have a very large operation of over 2,000 technical resources, again, supporting enterprise companies in all the leading technologies. With the mass of talent available, it was a bit of a surprise to us to find that local companies were also struggling to hire the right technical talent. And what we were finding was the talent there really liked the appeal of working for a technology company. And so we've started partnering, in this instance, with a major bank in the country, where we are actually sourcing the talent, hiring the talent, and again, even in the same country, the talent work for us, and they like the fact that they're working for a technology company, they have career progression within the technology company, but they're actually delivering on banking projects on behalf of the bank. So it's just an alternative way that people are starting to look at how else do we get talent if we can't get them ourselves. So just very briefly, to bring all the things together that we do at YNV, Tech Talent, we're helping companies source talent, either in the country or in other locations where we operate, and we're giving our clients ways of accessing that talent. Through Elevate, we are working on multiple skilling programs where we are skilling not just for employability, but skilling through onboarding programs and upskilling programs for existing employees and the existing workforce. We have our own skilling platform, TalentWise, which enables us, through our skilling programs, to assess people's skills, soft skills and power skills and hard skills, before the training programs, during and at the end. So no longer is training about just getting somebody to the end of the course. It's really about understanding the impact that that training program has had, enabling somebody to perform their role. So role-based learning, very important. And then with our new SciTech company, this is our cybersecurity services company, because again, we are seeing, and of course you are all seeing, significant demand for cyber skills and cyber services. So this is how Y&B Tech Talent helps our customers. And then let's talk about one final comment on how do we invest in building the workforce of tomorrow? How do we think about that? So across the world, and obviously specifically in Costa Rica, we have to think about investing in digital skilling programs. It will not just happen. We can't take for granted that students are going to come out of universities with the skills in the right volumes that we need. We have to invest in our employees. We have to invest in growing the skills. We have to think about how to attract more businesses to Costa Rica. And as was said earlier, if there is a talent shortage here, that will not self-address. You have to have programs to do that. And so again, looking at skilling initiatives will facilitate that. But in the meantime, the businesses in Costa Rica have to also evolve. So what do you do when there is a shortage of these skills and you still have to go through digital transformation programs? So the option is also there for you to consider virtual teams getting access to talent from other countries at good price points where there are actually the other way around, where there is a surplus of talent versus demand, whilst you in turn, in parallel, build your own skills for the future. And then just to close, one other thing that we have to take into account is the changing needs of the workforce of tomorrow as well. For those of us that have had 30-year careers, we were looking for different things when we started work and out of our employment. Now, the workforce that we're going to be hiring with these new digital skills, they want very different things from their employment. So we have to be thinking about this as an employer. We have to take into account the connection that employees want with their company, with their leadership, and the meaning of the work that they do. These are just things that we have to put more effort and attention onto. We have to think as employers about the personalized learning programs. We mentioned lifelong learning. We have to think about the ongoing learning for both technical skills, but the power skills that people need to do the jobs of now and tomorrow. We have to think about, I know when my sons entered the workforce, they were completely shocked at how old-fashioned things were, because they're so used to everything instant, everything on the phone. And when we put them in front of a computer and we give them technology to use that to them is not fast and easy, it's not an enjoyable experience, and it's not something that they look forward to. We have to think about, obviously, pay and benefits, of course, but wellness and flexibility at work are also becoming major priorities for the workforce of tomorrow. And of course, finally, diversity, inclusion, equity, very important for the younger generation. Of course, it's important for all generations, but they are being more picky about the companies they will work for and more demanding from their employers on these initiatives, as well as social responsibility. So we've got to think very, very differently about how we attract people, how we retain people, if we as businesses want to remain competitive. And with that, I will say thank you very much for your...